Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Classic Gaming Brothers. I'm Seth.
And I'm Zach.
And we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
Yeah, look at us.
Yeah, look at us indeed.
Look at us through your podcasting application.
That's true. Although we can look at each other in the studio.
We can look at each other in the Classic Gaming Brothers studio, and people can look at our artwork that we have. So
that's true.
They
can stare longingly at our cartoon face. Oh, yeah, we said it the same thing. Awesome. Perfect.
It's almost like we're brothers.
It is almost like we're brothers. Hence, we are the classic, and we like to play classic games.
And we do like to play classic games
in general. Thus, we are the Classic Gaming Brothers.
Yeah, the game I've been recently playing is not a classic game.
My game, you could say, is a classic game.
Yeah, your game falls into I would say, into the classic franchise. Mine is...
I don't know if it's classy.
Mine's a classic series.
That's true. So what have you recently been playing?
Well, Seth, I've recently been playing Hitman 2 from 2018, created by IO Interactive, which is a follow-up to the popular Hitman game that came out in 2016, which was a reboot of the series, since the game that came out before Hitman 2016 was Hitman Absolution, and that did not good.
Well, it's actually funny. I was, for our Is It Really That Bad segment, I was actually considering doing Absolution.
Yeah.
And it actually scored pretty well on the Metacritic score.
I think Absolution got a lot of... Not to go too deep into Absolution, but I think it got a lot of flack for a game that I actually had a fun time playing. I got a copy from a friend of mine, and I played through the entire thing. It definitely took me a shorter time to play through than Blood Money did, and I preferred Blood Money.
I think Absolution is a good game. I don't know if it's a good Hitman game.
No. However, Hitman 2... Or specifically, I've been playing the levels of Hitman 1 just through Hitman 2 because it was like, do you want to play through the Hitman 1 levels first? And I was like, all right. So I've just been doing that. I've been having a great time. My time playing Hitman is always a variety of me doing either really well or really poorly, and usually a combination of the two. So for those who have not played Hitman, you play as a hitman whose name is Agent 47, and you are hired to kill people as a hitman is.
That's right.
There's also some weird, like, in the new games, there's like this big like conspiracy theory. Like,
it's actually there's always been like a conspiracy theory in the entire series of games. You're always working for, there's like, it's great because you work for these company, like things called like the agency or the company, or you have issues at the company with the agency, and they're all very generic named companies that hire you.
And he does kind of come off as like a Men in Black, like no emotion sort of guy. He just doesn't like wipe people's memory. He puts a bullet through their forehead.
Well, that's one way of wiping somebody's memory.
But yeah, overall, I've been having a really fun time. I'm incredibly bad at stealth. So what tends to happen is I spend about a half hour to 40 minutes planning everything that I'm going to do in game. So I like case the scene, I wander around, I usually get into a costume or two and try to find the guy or two people I'm supposed to kill. I kind of keep an eye on them. I get into a place where I think I'm not going to be seen if I kill them, and then I'm witnessed murdering them by like 30 people who I just didn't see, and then I have to like run away or try to find a place to hide, and then the last 5 minutes are me just desperately trying to avoid getting caught. I did have a couple of missions that went very well for me. Specifically, there was a mission in Marrakesh, I think, Morocco, and that went super smoothly. No issues there. I walked into one of the guys you have to kill in Marrakesh is this like general, and he's located usually on the second floor of this like embassy area that you go into. So I went into the embassy area. I found a spot like directly across from where the general was standing. He was standing in one room, and I was at the other end of a courtyard in a different room, and no one was around me, and I just and I just walked out, and everyone's like, the general's been shot, and I was like, oh no, let me go run outside to make sure the killer didn't get out.
That's fun.
And then I got out of there. So that was probably the best round. Probably my worst round was you have to kill this like lawyer and this pop star. And yeah, so after I killed the lawyer, I had like every hotel guard just coming into my room. So I would like pop one, drag his body, another one would open the door as I'm dragging the body and being like, what's going on? So I'd pop him, pull him over, close the door, drag that body. Another one would open the door as I'm dragging that body. And it was just like a nonstop barrage of people. So that's how that one went. So that's kind of how my Hitman games go.
Agent 47 is actually very fragile. He can't be shot a lot, and he usually dies pretty quick.
Yeah, he's not like a Call of Duty guy. He doesn't like... No. He's not like, super body armor or anything. He's wearing a suit. He gets shot like a couple of times. He's dead.
It sounds like we do have different play styles, though. I generally am an opportunist when I play Hitman. So I generally am pretty good with not getting caught, but also tend to pull off these like very down to the wire I shoot the person I'm supposed to kill at the same time like the guard's like just walking past the room, and like I'm dragging the body into the closet and hiding in with the body at the exact same time that the guard just decides to walk into the room.
Yeah,
and
right,
I'm just like usually just a few seconds ahead of getting caught, and generally that's kind of like how my style is. I don't actually plan anything. I just kind of like figure out the first way to get into where I need to go, and then just kind of roll with it and opportunistically make my way through it, which has ended up into some humorous situations. I also like the accidental deaths where you can hook there's in one of the old, and this is not, I think I always say this is not going to be the episode that we talk about Hitman, but we could. But there's an episode where it's, I believe in Blood Money, where you have to kill someone who's in the opera.
Yes.
And you swap, that's one of my favorite missions. You swap the gun on them, and then they pull the gun and they shoot themselves with it. Though I think the best Blood Money map is the house, like the neighborhood one.
Yes.
Where you have to kill the mobster.
That's also a very good one.
Classic, yeah.
The opera Blood Money map took me the longest time to play through because I was just really bad at it. And what I ended up doing was I just tried to speedrun it. So I like ran through, pushed through the guards, shot the first guy, spun around, shot the second guy, and just bolted out of there before anyone could shoot me. And I did it in like 30 seconds. Like, got no bonus points because it was like, the loudest you could be.
I enjoyed the newspaper in Blood Money too. It would send a little newspaper up, and if you killed everybody with the scissors in the neighborhood mission, it would say like some crazed gardener has gone crazy. Yeah. Well, anyway, I have not recently been playing Hitman. I have recently been playing a game called Vampire Bloodlines, specifically with a mod called Clan Quest. It was originally developed in 2004 and was done by a company called Troika Games, which the company Troika Games itself was created by some members of the staff of Interplay, who left Interplay to kind of create like an old style Interplay, like more fun version of the company that they were getting tired of. And they created 3 games, Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura, which is a great and one-of-a-kind game. It's a classic role-playing steampunk game. The game, The Temple of Elemental Evil, which was a licensed D&D property, which was also very good, and Vampire Bloodlines, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. The company was formed by 3 key people, Leonard Boyarsky, Tim Kane, and Jason Anderson. Leonard and Tim ended up going to work for Obsidian, and Jason Anderson ended up going to work for In Exile. Those 2 companies have both been purchased by Microsoft, so they all are colleagues again.
Oh, nice.
At Microsoft. So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines used the Source Engine and was an early version of the Source Engine coming out in 2004, and was a role-playing game that was set in the World of Darkness, which is a White Wolf property, where you play as a vampire. It was a very gothic horror type game, and that was very heavy dialogue, where you can actually progress through a majority of the entire game by just talking and using skills like persuasion, seduction, or intimidation to kind of get your way, or even using powers that the vampires have. The game is was rated very highly on Metacritic, but however, it had very poor sales, where on original release only sold about 72,000 units. However, in 2016, the game was brought over to Steam distribution and was also brought through a drive-through video game website. It's like called Drive-Through, I think actually, Drive-Through RPG or Drive-Through. Well, I know there was like a role-playing game website that you could buy books, but I think you might be able to buy games. There's like a digital drive-through version before Steam anyway, and has actually made significant amount of sales since 2016. As from 2016 to March 2017, 550,000 copies were purchased on Steam. So I'm currently playing the game, like I said earlier, with a mod called Clan Quest, which I actually recommend if you plan on playing Bloodlines, or if you're interested in playing Bloodlines. It comes with a very later version of the unofficial patch, which is an evolving patch done by fans of the game to keep the game fixed. One of the things with Troika is all of their games that came out, maybe except for Arcanum, but definitely Temple of Elemental Evil and Vampire the Masquerade, were all rushed out of development and ended up having horrible bugs.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a thing. Yeah. They were always like, the game's coming out early. The game is also rife with bugs. So they all require official and unofficial patching, especially with modern computers. You definitely need, I 100% recommend Clan Quest, but you can find another unofficial patch to fix the game to play it. The Clan Quest itself expands on the current game. It adds in additional missions and content, and including things that were dropped from the earlier game, or being able to have like people follow you and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Well, cool. That's awesome to hear. And I do know there is a like sequel or remake of Vampire.
So yes, there is a sequel. It is currently being developed by a company called Hardsuit Labs and being published by Paradox Interactive, who is the holders of the White Wolf intellectual property. And I'm guessing based on the increased digital distribution sales, knowing that they have a pretty decent IP under their belt, they decided to release a sequel. How it's going to be similar to the last game, I don't know. I hope it does well. It obviously is not using any of the people that worked on it, the last one. So hopefully it is really well. And when we get closer to its release, which is going to be 2021, maybe I'll bring it up in a Byway Pass segment or a recently played segment.
Very cool. Very cool. So today we are not talking about Vampire or Hitman. We're actually talking about a game that has absolutely nothing to do with these. And it's an entirely different game than either Vampire or Hitman. And that game is Starcraft. The Blizzard real-time strategy Starcraft. So Seth and I have a history with Starcraft. And we've always been a big fan of the Blizzard IPs. We obviously have talked about Warcraft before, but yeah, so today we're talking about our other favorite one, which is Starcraft.
And being this far away from Warcraft in our episodes does not diminish our love for Starcraft.
That's right.
Over Warcraft.
That's right.
Actually, I feel like I like Starcraft more than Warcraft. I'm a fan of the genre, like that. I like sci-fi versus. I'm somebody who, when in their video games, likes sci-fi over fantasy.
I am too, and I think Warcraft is more nostalgic for me, but Starcraft is just has a lot better quality of life changes that were made.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of our memories with Starcraft, I personally remember that we at least had a few copies, but I remember we had a copy that was at our dad's, and I think that's when I first was actually playing it. I don't really remember playing it back at when I was younger, like around the time I was playing Warcraft or Warcraft 2. But I remember playing it at our dad's, and our dad is also a huge fan of Starcraft. And he still plays Starcraft, I'm fairly certain, when he gets a chance. But yeah, that mostly my memories of Starcraft. Not to jump on Seth's memories real quick, but I see a mention of something in Seth's memories that reminds me that I've owned multiple copies of Starcraft. I have owned a couple of the battle chests that I've just repurchased for certain reasons. And I have a digital copy, and I had a copy of the N64 port that we'll briefly talk about. I ended up selling it for a nice chunk of change, but it was I did have multiple versions of one game for some reason.
So that's actually one of my main memories of StarCraft is that I owned a lot of it. For some reason, I owned at least 3 different battle chests and bought it through digital distribution channels and bought the remastered version recently. I also think that I bought the singles of just StarCraft and Brood War. I remember playing StarCraft for the first time at my friend's house. The same friend who I would watch I watched Dune when we weren't supposed to.
Oh, yes.
So that friend, dad, really liked StarCraft. And I remember I got a copy of Brood War from them on a CDR. And you could install it off of the CDR because DMR wasn't a thing. I have since bought StarCraft enough times that I could have had that CDR legally now. But
yeah.
For some reason, I just owned a lot of it. I also played it a lot, especially in early high school, late middle school. I played it pretty much religiously. I didn't play a lot online. I did play the single player a lot. I went through and played multiple versions of that. When people found out I played StarCraft, they would want to play online, and then they found out that I was really bad at StarCraft and didn't want to play with me. I did once comment in a StarCraft forum, a strategy, and forgot about commenting on it, and then got thousands of replies and posts and likes into it. It was before Reddit was on a forum. That was a thing. It was a bad strategy. I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoy Terran, and I enjoy Protoss, and I think Zach and I played it recently. The original on Twitch. We played recently within a couple of weeks. Yeah, and
we played the original. Yeah,
I tried to do my old strategy which would have worked if Zach wasn't bad at playing StarCraft.
Yeah,
or because I think it didn't work because I ran out of minerals. But
you did run out of minerals, and the AI was like a butt.
Yeah, it was a butt. So yeah, there's those are my memories of StarCraft. Some of them more recent than others.
To get into the history of StarCraft and the development of it, StarCraft was developed by Blizzard after the success of Warcraft 2, and development began really shortly after the release of Warcraft 2. The original game that they had built was built on the Warcraft 2 engine as a base, and they demoed that version at E3 in 1996, and nobody liked it. The response was lukewarm, and a lot of people were just coming up to Blizzard and being like, oh, so yeah, this is Warcraft in space. And Blizzard did not take that criticism kindly, in the sense that they wanted this game to stand out from Warcraft. So after this criticism was made, they decided to overhaul the entire game and the gameplay, which they ended up making more focused on the 3 major races in the game. And I guess what I mean by this is if you play through Warcraft versus StarCraft, one thing you'll notice is that in Warcraft, the 2 races, the orcs and the humans, essentially are the same thing. The orcs are just green humans, where their units all have equivalents. So the human footman is essentially the same as the orc grunt, or the human archer is the same as the troll axe thrower. They're the same units, just reskinned. What StarCraft did was something different. They made each race have similar units, but they all had different abilities. So, the Terran soldiers were different than the Zerglings, and the Zerglings were different than the Protoss Zealot. And also the way that these characters maintained resources and built things were entirely different. So, the Zergs required their land to be almost corrupted before you can build it, and the Terran could just build houses and farms.
And the Protoss required pylons.
And the Protoss required pylons that were energy sources. In a way, they made the game focused on these races and not on just the general real-time strategy playthrough, which I think was a smart decision, because I think that really guides the way that you play the game. And Bill Roper, who was a developer, compared this to chess, and he stated that StarCraft would allow players to, quote, develop a very unique strategies on which species is being played.
Very similar to another game set in the far future that many of these races may have been based on Warhammer 40k.
Yes.
The Protoss have very similar correlation to the Eldar, up to and including using something known as warp technology. And the Zerg are very similar to the Tyranid, looking very, very close to what a Tyranid looks like. And Blizzard changed enough of it to avoid getting in trouble with the lawyers.
So the game of StarCraft, as it was being developed, was continually delayed, though there was a lot of news that was circulating about it during the 90s, and a lot of excitement was drumming up. So much excitement, in fact, that there was already groups of StarCraft fans, even though the game was not out yet. They were fans of a game that was not out, and these fans got so excited for the game they created forums based on the game, and they also started creating groups within these forums, including one group that was known as Operation Can't Wait Any Longer. And Operation Can't Wait Any Longer was a series of writings that were all these fictional stories in which members of the forum would steal copies of the beta of StarCraft to play it. This wasn't something real that was happening. These were fictional fan fiction, essentially, of people stealing copies of StarCraft.
They're very excited about it.
They were that excited. Blizzard loved this. They thought it was really sweet, and they paid homage to this group with a cheat code. So there's a cheat code in StarCraft, Operation CWAL, Operation Qual, and if you type in that cheat code, it speeds up the production of units. It makes them go faster because you can't wait any longer.
I think it instantly produces them, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes them produce like instantly. Also, they included a little thank you note to the Operation Can't Wait Any Longer team of writers, as just a, thank you for waiting. The game was eventually released on Windows March 31st, 1998. A Mac port followed the next year, and an N64 port was actually developed in 1999 and was released in June of 2000, with the conversion being done by Mass Media Interactive, which was a subsidiary of THQ. And just to quickly talk about the N64 port is actually really fascinating. It's probably one of the better PC conversions of a real-time strategy game to a console, which there aren't a lot of those. I mean, there's like Warcraft for the PlayStation 1 and Command & Conquer for the PlayStation 1 and the N64. But this game plays and feels like StarCraft, and it looks like StarCraft, and it actually plays really well. And it has multiplayer and Brood War, which was the expansion pack. It's a massive little N64 game. And it does some cool tricks with the controller, assigning different buttons to hotkeys to allow you to build faster and move your units faster because you don't have a mouse and keyboard. So just a fascinating little game. It's worth a little bit of money at this moment, so if anyone's interested in playing it, good luck trying to find a copy. But it's definitely a really interesting port.
Yeah, I don't know, because StarCraft is a real-time strategy, just as in case.
Yeah, it is a real-time strategy. That.
So playing it on an N64 controller is interesting. Fun fact about Mass Media Interactive being a subsidiary of THQ: THQ ends up going off to develop a bunch of Warhammer 40k games.
Ooh. Coincidence.
So the game is StarCraft is a real-time strategy game in the same vein as such as Warcraft, where you must balance resource management with creation of units, all to attack an enemy base while defending your own base. There are in the campaign hero units that you generally must keep them alive in order to complete the mission.
This is Jimmy.
This is Jimmy. The titular character being Jim Raynor, followed by some other knockout performances such as Zero Tool of the Protoss.
It wouldn't be titular, because titular means it's the title character, and Jim Raynor's name is not Jim Starcraft Raynor.
I would look it up in the dictionary. His name is Jim Starcraft Raynor. Have you played Wings of Liberty? Jim Raynor it's the Jim Raynor story. All of StarCraft is the Jim Raynor story, with side stories about Zero Tool. Some other characters that I really enjoyed. There was Arcturus Menks, the Edmund Duke. Those were Terran characters. Arcturus Menks leads a rebellion, eventually becomes the Empire. It's weird. There's a confederacy that Edmund Duke is part of, and then you team up with Arcturus Menks, who is the leader of this resistance force against the Confederacy, but then he just goes and starts his own confederacy where he's the king. Emperor, he becomes Emperor Minsk. There's also the main like foil to Jim Raynor is a woman by the name of Kerrigan, and she ends up going and doing some interesting things in the game. And
to say the least.
And if you haven't, I feel like StarCraft has been out long enough that you could say that Kerrigan ends up falling to the Zerg and becoming the Queen of Blades.
She is literally the box cover for Brood War, which, like, that's her face.
There is also some interesting characters that are introduced in Brood War, such as Admiral Dugall and Vice Admiral Stukov, who ends up also falling to the Zerg and becoming a member of the Zerg army.
Oh no!
There's a pattern. There's Phoenix the Dragoon.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, Phoenix.
Well, Phoenix starts off at not being a Dragoon. He starts off being a Zealot, and he ends up dying, and they end up putting his body into a Dragoon where his soul lives on, and he's just now a tank, which is how the Protoss do their thing.
Yeah, the Protoss are weird.
So all these characters that are set in the 24th century after overpopulation of Earth causes members of the human race to be exiled, such as criminals, the cybernetically enhanced, and genetic mutants. And all of these criminals are sent off to colonize the far reaches of the galaxy. So Earth is like, there's too many of us, get rid of the undesirables. Into space they go.
Yeah.
And so they colonize because they're all stuck out into Earth together, outside of Earth, and they're all stuck in planets far away together. And so they colonize the far reaches of the Earths and form a government called the Confederacy of Man, which becomes a strong faction of humans, though is also run by criminals.
Yes.
So they're incredibly oppressive and pretty much fascist. And it's kind of an interesting underlying theme that you should always keep in mind when you're playing StarCraft, that these people are all, like, all the Terrans, a lot of them put themselves off as, like, that they're upstanding individuals, but know that they were kicked off of Earth because they were a criminal.
Yeah, like, no one's a good guy.
No.
Like, Jimmy's probably the best, and even he has his problems.
Yeah, like, Jim Raynor may be a law enforced guy, like a marshal, but he's still also was at one point in time a criminal.
Yes, yeah.
I think probably Zeratul is the who's a Protoss assassin.
Yeah. A noble profession.
Well, yeah, because he's not a hitman because he doesn't get paid.
That's right. Yeah.
There was an expansion pack that was made by Blizzard called Brood War, which was released in December of 1998, which was eventually bundled into with the original in what Zachary and I have purchased multiple times, known as the Battle Chest, which was just a big box with both of the games. Brood War continues the story of StarCraft and expands on the campaign. It goes back and sees what Kerrigan's doing now as the Queen of Blades. The story, though, at the end of the day in Brood War, does very little to change the story. So like when StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty start off, you don't have to have played Brood War. You could just play the original one to kind of like roll into that game. Brood War essentially introduces a faction of characters called the United Earth Directorate, who are essentially people from Earth who are checking out what happened with all those criminals who got sent far away. And by the end of the game, they're removed from the situation and from the StarCraft area of the galaxy. So Brood War is an interesting story, but a lot of what happens in Brood Wars happens specifically to the characters of Brood War, such as like Jim Raynor. He has some issues that happen, and Kerrigan, but that doesn't change the political spectrum of what's going on in StarCraft. And all three races had their own storyline. You had to play in the order of Terran, then Zerg, then Protoss. And that's the general way that they keep the storyline progression through. It's also a way that you get taught how to play StarCraft.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You start off playing Terran, which is probably the easiest race to figure out how to play. Then you play Zerg, and then you play Protoss. And Protoss probably has the most... I'm sure there's Zerg players out there who are going to say that Zerg is the most complicated, but Protoss probably has the most complicated mechanics associated.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
the Zerg, like as described earlier, are very bug-like. Familiar with Tyranids from Warhammer 40k. They're very much this swarm and this hive mind meta creature. They're essentially a big hive of nasty little things that essentially just swarm and kill everything, and they just take over planets. So they're a problem. And then the Protoss, very similar to like the Eldars, are very like energy mystical creatures, and they're very old. Both of the races, the Protoss and Zerg, play vastly different than each other, and the Terrans, who are the humans, also play very differently. The Protoss and the Zerg, also there's some like things that you learn about this thing called the Xel'Naga, which is like the root creature that they stem from, and pretty much all of StarCraft carries this like meta arc of like, where did the Zerg come from, where did the Protoss come from, and they kind of try to vaguely discuss that while you're dealing with the day-to-day fighting the Zerg.
The lore is definitely deep in terms of StarCraft. I think there's a couple of books and other media.
Yes, I've actually... I think I've definitely picked up one of the books, and I have read it. I don't necessarily say that the books are either young adult fantasy game books, so I wouldn't necessarily say that they're
high literature.
The highest form, highbrow literature. But I mean, if you really like StarCraft, they're a place to go. And I did really like StarCraft, which is why I own the books.
So, along with Brood War, there were also 2 notable authorized expansion packs. And I want to make sure that I emphasize that these were authorized, because the late 90s and the early 2000s it was like Wild West of video gaming, in the sense that you would have these companies release map packs, campaigns, costume packs and stuff for all manner of games. There was, and this might be an episode in itself, but there were like unauthorized Doom CDs you could buy. There were unauthorized Duke Nukem CDs you could buy. The Sims had a line of unauthorized like furniture and costumes and stuff that you could buy.
The Sim Mart thing.
Yeah, which was actually... The one you could buy was just all stolen from the internet. Like, it was just all fan stuff that you could get for free, but they sold it for like $20. So in any case, there were 2 expansion packs that were made for StarCraft that were authorized third-party expansion packs. This was Insurrection and Retribution. Both were released in 1998. And the consensus that Seth and I have is that this was probably due to Blizzard feeling that there was this appetite for expansion packs, which led them to release also Brood War.
Right. So because people were asking to make authorized expansion packs, led Blizzard to make Brood War.
Right. Blizzard saw that there were both unauthorized expansion packs, fan packs, and stuff like that coming out there. And after they had these 2 authorized, they were like, hey, let's make our own. Spoiler alert, Brood War is the better expansion pack.
Brood War's the best expansion pack.
Yeah. So Insurrection and Retribution used the creator kit that came with the games. So when you bought StarCraft, you actually got a map editor. And the map editor you could use to kind of manipulate assets and create your own maps. And
you could also create your own splash screens.
Yes.
So you could create your own mission debriefer, which they did, and you could also create like triggers for things to like have NPCs say dialogues, which they did.
Yeah, they also added some voice acting, though the voice acting is incredibly inconsistent and sometimes just bad.
Yeah, and voice acting is something that needs to be consistent.
So the first expansion pack was Insurrection, that was created by Aztec New Media, and it featured 3 new full campaigns, which had 30 missions and more than 100 new multiplayer maps. It takes place during the first campaign in StarCraft. And even though it was authorized, you still had to go through the customs game settings to access the expansion pack. So in StarCraft, there was a setting to load custom games that you created, and you had to like save the files from the CD in a special place in order to access the files. It didn't like create a new icon or something on your screen. Blizzard had final creative approval for everything during the story and during the development of Insurrection, though they still view Insurrection as completely non-canon. So they didn't need to approve anything.
So even though that they had creative approval to approve and deny the entire story, they still are like, that's probably not canon.
Retribution was created by WizardWorks Software, and WizardWorks is not unfamiliar with creating expansion packs. They created a ton of unauthorized Duke Nukem and Doom expansion packs, all of which were just stolen assets from like fan mods on the internet. Retribution contains over 120 new multiplayer maps, 3 new campaigns, along with 30 new single-player maps. And in early production of this game, the production was canceled, so finding a physical copy of Retribution is very hard. Blizzard did not support their authorized expansion packs, and they don't view Retribution as canonical either.
So if you had an issue with Retribution or Insurrection, technical issue, Blizzard would not help you with that.
They would be like, tough cookies, you shouldn't have bought it.
Even though it was authorized.
Yeah. Blizzard stamped their approval, and we're like, that's it. That's all we're giving this thing. It's just our stamp. And really, it really is just a stamp. It's like when you bought the box of Retribution or Insurrection, it had a little label on it that just said like officially licensed by Blizzard. That's all you needed. So Starcraft alone was incredibly well received and was actually remastered in 2017 with the release of Starcraft Remastered. It added support for high definition graphics and also higher resolution, so you could play the game in I think up to 4K. The game's online capabilities were popular enough to spawn what would be considered the earliest form of esports, especially in places like South Korea, where it was kind of this growing area for esports. The game did see a full sequel in 2010 known as StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty, which has also grown in popularity in the online gaming community, and I think really is the trendsetter for what we know of it as esports. Usually when people refer to esports, they first thing they think of is like StarCraft. Really, the first thing they think of is StarCraft 2. And the multiplayer of StarCraft 2 really lent to that. They really adapted into esports, including creating like ranked lobbies and stuff like that for people to be able to be competitive.
They also went on to make StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, which was the Zerg expansion pack, addition to StarCraft 2, and also Legacy of the Void, which is the Protoss campaign.
And StarCraft 2 is fun. I like it.
And they even created a DLC mission pack for StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty called StarCraft 2 Nova Covert Ops, which was released over the year of 2016. And it takes place on the aftermath of the Legacy of the Void, and you play as a psionic operative known as Nova. You go through a story pack of those missions, which were 9 missions where you play as Nova, which was interesting because Nova, that's almost an homage, or it is an homage, to the lead character in a game called StarCraft Ghost, which was canceled.
And which was actually going to be a military science fiction stealth action video game, which would have been very different from Blizzard's usual run of real-time strategy games. So yeah, I think that will do it. That will do it for our StarCraft episode. StarCraft is a great series. Seth and I love it, and we do play it frequently on our Twitch. So be sure to tune into our Twitch to watch us play some StarCraft sometime. We also have some of the past broadcasts on our YouTube.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we're very bad.
We are. I should preface the fact that we're not good at StarCraft.
No.
Don't think we're good. Yeah.
So we're gonna go back into our Byway Pass segment is it's back. So with fall only being about a week away from the release of this episode, the summer vacation for that the Byway Pass has been experiencing is over. and it has to come back to work. To refresh everyone's memory, this segment is where we look at some games that are either upcoming or have been recently released and discuss if the game, in our opinion, is worth buying, waiting, or passing on. As a reminder, if we do say that we're passing, it's not that we think that the game is horrible or will be horrible. It's just that we aren't particularly interested in the game, and it might not necessarily be a good fit for us, but it could be a good fit for you. So if you like our description of it, maybe check it out.
Yeah, we've certainly passed on games that, in general looked good. We just aren't interested. So yeah, buy, wait, pass. So Seth, I think I'll go first if you don't mind. So my buy, wait, pass is actually a bit of DLC. It's Doom Eternal: The Ancient Gods, which is due out in October 20th, 2020. The Ancient Gods is Doom Eternal's first DLC. It's actually going to be part 1 of their planned DLC. And interestingly enough, while it is DLC, or at least considered DLC, it is a standalone title and not requiring the base game to play it. So you could pick up Ancient Gods and play it if you've never played Doom Eternal. You might want to play Doom Eternal, though, because Doom Eternal is a great game. It will put you in the role of the Doom Slayer after the events of Doom Eternal. My understanding of the plot of the game, and Doom's not really a game that you play for the plot, but the Doom Slayer has defeated the Doom Slayer has defeated the Icon of Sin, and is now dealing with some other issues that are coming about on Earth, and is dealing with this returning enemy of these creatures called the Makir, which are these almost like angels who are in league with hell. And the Doomslayer must resurrect these ancient creatures in order to fight the Makir. So it seems like it could be an interesting game. I'm certainly excited. Reportedly, the gameplay is supposed to consist of harder levels and enemies, and also, interestingly enough, your character starts out fully upgraded. So that's something that they talked about in a recent interview with one of the developers, that he said that he really wanted this game to feel like it's a logical progression from the end of a player playing Doom Eternal. So you beat Doom Eternal, you unlocked everything, you've upgraded your character to the fullest possible extent, and this is the story that's coming after. But he made sure to clarify that doesn't mean the game's going to be easy. If anything, it's going to scale. So it's going to be a hard game. You're just going to have everything from the beginning, which I think is interesting. I'm curious to see how they play with that, especially because I think leveling up in Doom Eternal was an interesting kind of tactic for a Doom game, but it'd be cool to go back to the way old Doom was, where you never leveled up. You just kind of were already a badass. Personally, it's going to be a buy for me. I'm excited for the game to come out. So be on the lookout for that as one of my recently plays. So
for my buy, wait, pass is going to be to tie back to my recently played. So by a company that one of the Troika Games developers now works at, In Exile, they produced they developed a game called Wasteland 3. So Wasteland 3 was released just in August 27th of 2020 and was developed and published by In Exile Entertainment, which they crowdfunded it through a website called fig.co, and where you can crowdfund video games, which I think also In Exile owns, which means since Microsoft owns In Exile, Microsoft might own the whole bunch. I'm not sure. So Wasteland 3 is based on the Wasteland series, and so Wasteland was originally released in 1988, which would put it in a classic game. Wasteland, the original, is a science fiction open world role-playing video game which was developed by Interplay and published by Electronic Arts. The people then, it was actually directed by Brian Fargo, who's the CEO of In Exile. Oh, cool. And so then in 2014, In Exile Entertainment went and did a crowdfunding for Wasteland 2, which was successful. They released Wasteland 2, and then they did a crowdfunding for Wasteland 3, which was successful, and they released it on August 28th, 2020. So I've really played like the Wasteland 2 and the beta for Wasteland 3. You play is a party-based role-playing game which takes place in a post-apocalyptic environment. You build out up to a party of like 6 what's known as desert rangers. You go through the whole world. It is a heavy skill game where you do deep character customization. So I played a lot of Wasteland 2. I actually had a lot of fun just building my character out, let alone like playing the game. Like I just had fun like building, because you can build your character and you can really have some interesting characters. Like I had this guy, he was a priest who was a sniper and he smoked a lot of cigarettes. Like, and he looked like the crypt keeper. And that was just one guy. They all can jump into different conversations too. And when you engage in a dialogue, like your whole group engages in the dialogue. So certain people will chime in when they're supposed to and stuff like that. And you build out your squad kind of how to fit the game style that you want to play. So if you want to just be like killing everybody, running around, brute forcing everything, you can do that. If you want to be like a stealth game, you can do that. If you want to be like heavy persuasion dialogue, you can do that. So it is a type of game that I generally enjoy. I have yet to beat Wasteland 2, so it's in my my game pile of shame, which maybe one day we can talk about that.
The shame pile of games.
The shame pile, where it's games where I've put time into and have enjoyed, but have not just gotten around to beating it. But it won't stop me from buying Wasteland 3 or playing Wasteland 3 before I beat Wasteland 2. I kickstarted Wasteland 3, so I was involved in the Kickstarter, so I already own it. So I'm going to put it down as a buy as well. It's a fun series, especially if you enjoy if you like old school Fallout, like the original, like Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and you want something that's more modern but very similar to Fallout and still like a computer role-playing game and not necessarily like the new stuff with the first person stuff, then I would recommend like Wasteland 3 or checking that out, because that is very similar type of aesthetics that Fallout has, and then it has a combat system very similar to like XCOM.
In fact, Wasteland's aesthetic to Fallout is so similar that Fallout was inspired by Wasteland.
It's true. It's true. Since Wasteland is old.
Yeah, 1988.
But it was actually just recently remastered though.
So that's going to do it. Oh,
yeah, so that's it.
Did you say if you were buying, waiting, and passing on it?
I said I'm going to buy if you were paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention. I'm a good brother.
I know you weren't.
I'm a good brother. So that will do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. Would you be able to tell everybody how they can contact us, listen to us, and support us?
Yes, Seth. I can certainly tell everybody how to contact us, listen to us, and support us. So to contact us, what you would need to do is you could email us, because we don't give out our phone number to just anybody.
But if you email us, we probably will.
No. Especially if we know you in real life. But to contact us, if you want, you can shoot us an email. You can shoot that email to classicgamingbrothers@gmail.com. You could actually shoot that email to classicgamingbrothers@classicgamingbrothers.com. But that's very long. But you could do that if you wanted to. It works. Yeah, and just tell us anything that you want to. Tell us, how much you love the show, how much you hate the show. Tell us how much you like the sound of our voices. Tell us how much louder I was than Seth. Tell us how you really enjoy listening to our voices and how you can't wait for next week's episode, and you hope we talk about your favorite game. Tell us anything. We want to hear it. We want to hear the good and we want to hear the bad. We just want to hear from you. And no matter what you send us, you actually will be entered into the chance to win a game off of Seth's incredibly long and ongoingly longer list of games that he has to give away. So that's one way to contact us. Another way to contact us is by reaching out to us through any of our social media platforms. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Instagram are both Classic Gaming Brothers, and the Twitter is CG Brothers Pod. Sorry about that. I wasn't able to get Classic Gaming Brothers for some reason. I don't think it's already an existing Twitter. It might have been too long. What else? So yeah, you can reach out to us through any of the social medias that we have. We actually just recently created a Reddit, but it's not like that's a social media page, but I guess you could reach out to us there. Just don't expect a response anytime soon, because I don't know who's going to check that one. But yeah, reach out to us. We'll get back to you when we can, and most likely Seth will get back to you, unless it's on Twitter, in which case I'll probably get back to you. But in reality, Seth will probably be getting back to you, because I'll probably have him read whatever I'm going to send, and he'll correct it and send it. You can also go to our website. We have a contact form on our website. The contact form goes to our email. It actually functions as kind of a little mini email in itself. So it's the same as sending us an email, it's just on the website and not through an email client.
And our website's classicgamingbrothers.com.
Yes, the website is classicgamingbrothers.com. And we recently updated the website a little bit. We added a new page that shows... Seth was about to be like, no, we didn't. We added a page that shows some of our guests on the show, which, spoiler alert, will be expanding in the near future. I'm not going to say when because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. So if you want to, what was it? Contact, listen, support. If you want to listen to us, there's plenty of ways you can listen to us. We are available on pretty much every podcasting application out there that we know of. If there's a podcasting application out there that we don't know of, maybe you just created it, let us know how we can get on it and we'll do our best to get on it. But yeah, we're available on pretty much every podcasting application out there. We're available on, Apple. We're available on Spotify. We're available on CastBox, Stitcher, you name it, we're on it. And again, if you name it and we're not on it, we'll get on it. Just let us know. Shoot us an email. And then you'll be entered into a chance to win a Classic Gaming Brother prize, which is a game off of Seth's list. Now, let's say you want to support us. There's plenty of ways to support us, but the number one way to support us is telling 3 friends. Because if you like something, you tell 3 people. If you hate something, you tell more people. So tell 3 friends. Tell 3 friends about Classic Gaming Brothers and how much you love Classic Gaming Brothers, and then they'll tell 3 friends. And those 3 friends will tell 3 friends, and those 3 friends will tell 3 friends, and soon it'll be a Classic Gaming Brother Ponzi scheme. Of people just listening to Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's true. And if you want to listen to a great podcast about Ponzi schemes, you can listen to Ponzi Supernova, where it talks about Bernie Madoff.
Fun. Another way to support us is just by reaching out to us. We really like to hear from fans. We really want to hear from fans. So, reach out to us. That is a great way to support us. Listen to our episodes. Another great way to support us. Subscribe to us. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. All those different things. And if you definitely feel inclined, feel free to pick up one of our t-shirts or one of our mugs that we have available on the website. They're there. So we definitely don't expect anyone to buy anything, but if you feel like it, throw a little money at it and see what t-shirts you get. So
you probably get the one that you picked out since it's a store.
Yeah, that's how it works. Unless like we get weird and we just start sending people t-shirts in the mail.
I mean, if you send me your address, I will send you maybe a sticker.
Probably a sticker. We have so many stickers for bags.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Zach and I expected to attend more cons this year.
Yes, we did expect to attend more conventions.
So if you want a sticker, you could send us an email with feedback, and I'll mail you a sticker.
And that's all the different ways that you can contact us, listen to us, and support us. I can't think of anything else at all. Nothing at all. Nothing. Not one thing. I can't think of one thing at all. Seth, can you?
And don't play games like my brother.
And don't play games like my brother. I've been Zach.
And I've been Seth.
And we've been the Classic Gaming Brothers.
That's right.
That's right. This is Jimmy.
This is Jimmy.
This is Jimmy.
Rainer
here.
Rainer here.